Thank you very much, Sanjay. I think you're going to, I'm not going to talk for too long. Are these on or not? All right, thanks. But listen, let me add, first of all, welcome, and let me add distinguished guests and delegates. Let me add to some of the things that we've already heard this morning from each of the previous speakers. And I have to say, going back to Swiss Topo Director Jean-Philippe Austein's comments, I have a warm spot in my heart. I spent most of my career with the U.S. Geological Survey in the United States, and the last 10 years or so had responsibility for the topographic mapping program and the remote sensing program. And so I think when we look at that infrastructure, and Bern made reference to that, in each of our countries around the world, there's an amazing infrastructure that has been built from over the last several hundred, 300, 400 years. The discovery, even longer, the discovery of our nations with that infrastructure, with that topographic mapping program. And yet when I had responsibility for it in the United States, and also the remote sensing program, and this was a good 10 years ago, you'd largely think we were talking to both Mars and Venus. Was there a way to bring in the imagery data, that happened to be Landsat data at the time, into this topographic mapping base? And we would get blank stares from the audience. And so it's clear that a lot of progress has been made in that particular area. This whole integration of information that Bern also talked about is so essential. But we've got to do more. We are here today, I am here today as part of the Intergovernmental Group on Earth Observations. We've got 90 member countries, member states around the world, almost 80 participating organizations, which are UN organizations. But the reason that we're here today is in guidance from our executive committee and plenary member, is that we haven't gone far enough. If you really want to ensure the uptake of geospatial information, of Earth observations into decision makings, you've got to engage the private sector. And so for us, an opportunity this week gives us a wonderful opportunity to talk to data providers, to talk to value-added providers, primarily, but also to talk to downstream users. And it's those downstream users that I think, again, as Bern mentioned, are going to be a forcing function on all of us, whether it's a technological forcing function, whether it's a policy forcing function. The world is moving very, very quickly in that regard. We've got a couple primary purposes. Ensure that observing systems are sustained out into the future. Now with our member states, largely that's on the government side, but not predominantly. It's also private sector observing systems. We want to ensure, as I said before, the uptake of this Earth observation information. We want to advance broad open data policies for government data, that information that was collected at government expense. And again, Jean-Philippe talked about that. And then lastly, in many parts of the world, maybe all parts of the world, still build capacity. We've got a lot of work in that area. And the role and involvement of the private sector can be very, very important in that. For me, it really is about unleashing the power of Earth observations and ensuring that all of us become more geographically literate about the role that all of this information plays in what we're doing. So for us, again, over the next couple days, we've got special talks in the agricultural section, the climate section, the disaster section, and the energy section. And while our technical experts will be participating in those, in a large part to tell you what we're doing, what we are really hoping that in each of those sections you will talk to us so that we can, and we will listen to what you say about how the private sector can become more engaged in this effort and what we need to be doing to reach out to the private sector. The last thing I guess I would just end with, and this, we had a private sector engagement strategy yesterday where it really was kind of exploring this value proposition between the group on Earth observations and the private sector. And I think it was Tanner Kudans from Digital Globe had a wonderful quote. He referenced a quote from a book that was just written by Wade Davis, and the quote was, "The surface of the Earth itself is an immense loom upon which the sun weaves the fabric of existence." The surface of the Earth itself is an immense loom upon which the sun weaves the fabric of existence. So I think you can actually go back to this topographic mapping program that we started out with and thinking about at least a superficial loom that covers the Earth with that infrastructure. But again, maybe tying one more point into Bernd's summary statement about the fabric of existence. This really is about your existence. And so with the title of this entire week about Geo, Smart, Planet, and You, I think the planet is actually quite smart. Are we? I don't know. I was in a dinner conversation last week, again, where we were talking to some private sector people, and two different people came to that conversation, although their time frames differed. One person said, you know, based on the most recent statistics that are coming out of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change and the temperature increases, I give the Earth maybe, or I give humans maybe 50 years for existence. Somebody else said, oh, no, we're going to be around for 100 years, maybe 200 years, but certainly at the end of that, we as humans will not be here. And so, very pessimistic views. So I think when we think about the sun weaving the existence into the future, the Earth, the planet will rebound with or without us, with or without us. And so for us, it's not only making sure that governments, our participating organizations, and the private sector are doing everything that's humanly possible to ensure that humans are part of that existence out into the future. So thank you very much, and I look forward to the discussions all week.